I was ready to divorce my unfaithful wife without hostility. But I accidentally overheard her talking about me behind my back. In that moment, I decided to take away not only her money, but also everything she thought was hers. The decision came on a Tuesday. I'd been planning the separation for 3 weeks. Clean, professional, minimal damage. We'd been married for 8 years, and for the last 14 months, I'd known about the other man. His name was Travis Kellerman, and he worked in commercial real estate development. 29 years old, drove a leased BMW, lived in a townhouse he rented from one of his own company's properties, which struck me as either clever or pathetic, depending on how you looked at it. I worked in logistics coordination for a mid-sized freight company. Nothing glamorous. I managed shipping routes, negotiated with carriers, solved problems when containers went to the wrong port or trucks broke down in Nebraska. It required attention to detail, an understanding of systems, and patience. Lots of patience. My wife, Jennifer, worked in marketing for a wellness brand. She organized influencer campaigns, managed social media strategies, and attended far too many conferences in cities that happened to be where Travis was closing deals. The overlap was convenient, almost mathematically precise. I'd discovered the relationship the way most people do, through carelessness. A text message that appeared on her phone while she was in the shower. Then a pattern of late nights that didn't match her calendar. Then a credit card charge at a hotel 20 minutes from our house on a night she claimed to be working late at the office. I didn't confront her. I documented. 3 weeks ago, I'd started organizing the exit. I consulted a divorce attorney named Patricia Hodges, a sharp woman in her 50s who specialized in asset division. I made copies of financial documents. I opened a separate bank account and quietly redirected my paycheck. I even found a small apartment across town, a one-bedroom place above a hardware store that smelled like sawdust and paint thinner. The plan was simple. Tell her on Friday, move out on Saturday, file papers on Monday. No drama, no confrontation, just a clean separation from a marriage that had stopped functioning. Then Tuesday happened. I came home early. A shipping crisis in Cleveland had resolved itself faster than expected, and my supervisor told me to take the rest of the day. I pulled into our driveway at 3 p.m, which was unusual. Jennifer's car was there, along with another vehicle I didn't recognize, a silver Lexus with dealer plates. I walked into the house quietly, not sneaking, just not announcing myself. I heard voices coming from the kitchen, Jennifer's voice and another woman's. I didn't recognize the second voice. I stopped in the hallway. "He still doesn't know?" the other woman asked. Her tone was curious, not judgmental. "He has no idea," Jennifer said. She laughed. "Honestly, I think he's too wrapped up in his spreadsheets to notice." "How long are you going to keep this going?" "Until I'm ready. Travis and I have been talking about moving in together, but I want to make sure the finances are settled first. I'm not walking away from this house with nothing." "Smart." "The thing is," Jennifer continued, "he's so passive. I could probably tell him to his face and he'd just nod and go back to his laptop. He doesn't fight for anything. He never has." The other woman made a sympathetic sound. "I feel bad sometimes," Jennifer added, though her tone suggested otherwise. "But honestly, I deserve better than someone who treats life like a logistics problem. Travis has ambition. He has energy. He makes me feel like I matter." "You do matter." "I know. I just wish I'd figured that out sooner, before I wasted 8 years. I stood in the hallway for another 30 seconds, listening to them shift topics to some boutique opening downtown. Then I walked backward, opened the front door again, and closed it loudly. "Jen?" I called out. "I'm home." Footsteps. She appeared in the hallway, smiling. "Hey, you're early." "Cleveland resolved itself," I said. "Who's here?" "Oh, that's Amanda. She works in event planning. We're collaborating on a campaign." She gestured toward the kitchen. "Come say hi." I met Amanda. She was polite, professional, completely unaware that I'd heard the entire conversation. We exchanged pleasantries. She left 10 minutes later. Jennifer kissed me on the cheek and asked if I wanted takeout for dinner. I said sure. That night, I sat in my home office and stared at the divorce folder Patricia Hodges had prepared. All the documents were there: settlement proposal, asset inventory, custody arrangements for nothing because we had no children. It was clean, fair, reasonable. I closed the folder. Then I opened a new document on my laptop and started typing. The next morning, I went to work as usual. Jennifer left for her office at 8:30, same as always. I waited until 9, then called Patricia Hodges. I need to postpone, I told her. There was a pause. Postpone the filing? Everything. May I ask why? I need more time to think. Mr. Graves, she said carefully, in my experience, when someone says they need more time, they're usually hoping the situation will improve on its own. It won't. I understand, I said, but I'm not hoping for improvement. I just need to reconsider my approach. Another pause. All right, let me know when you're ready to proceed. I thanked her and ended the call. Then I started cataloging. Jennifer thought I spent my time on spreadsheets. She wasn't wrong. I lived in spreadsheets. I understood systems. I knew how to track variables, identify dependencies, and predict outcomes based on behavior patterns. So I built a spreadsheet for this. Column 1. Assets. The house was in both our names, but I'd made the down payment. The cars, hers was financed, mine was paid off. The savings account had my income and her inconsistent contributions. The retirement accounts were separate. Her credit cards carried balances I'd been paying down without her noticing. Column 2. Access points. Who controlled what? Whose name was on which account? Who had passwords? Who held the lease, the title, the insurance policies? Column 3. Weaknesses. Where Jennifer was careless, where Travis was arrogant, where assumptions replaced preparation. Jennifer assumed I was passive. Travis assumed I was irrelevant. Both of them assumed I didn't notice things. I noticed everything. Over the next week, I observed. I didn't change my behavior. I stayed pleasant, distracted, predictable. I asked Jennifer about her day. I nodded when she talked about work stress. I went to bed at 10:30 and woke up at 6. But I watched. Jennifer's routines were sloppy. She left her laptop open when she went to make coffee. She answered personal calls in the next room without closing the door. She scheduled her meetings with Travis in her work calendar under vague descriptions like site visit or client review. Travis was worse. He posted on social media constantly. Pictures of properties he was selling, updates about his company's expansion, a photo of himself at a restaurant downtown with the caption, "Celebrating Progress." In the background of that photo, barely visible, was Jennifer. She'd been cropped out, but not well. I saved the photo. I also started mapping his routines. He went to the same gym 3 mornings a week. He had lunch at the same rotation of 4 restaurants. He drove the same route to his office, which passed directly by a storage facility I'd used 2 years ago when we renovated our garage. I made notes. Then I scheduled a meeting with a man named Leonard Pike. Leonard worked in property management. He oversaw a portfolio of commercial and residential rentals for a firm called Westmont Holdings. I'd met him 4 years ago when our freight company leased a warehouse space for overflow inventory. He was competent, procedural, and utterly neutral. I called him and asked if we could meet for coffee. "Sure," he said. "What's this about?" "I'm exploring some investment opportunities," I lied. "Thought you might have insights." We met at a cafe near his office. I asked him general questions about the rental market, occupancy rates, tenant turnover. Then I asked about Westmont's properties. "Do you manage the Harper Terrace townhouses?" I asked casually. "Yeah. Why?" "I know someone who rents there. Just curious about the area." Leonard shrugged. "It's fine. We've had a few problem tenants, but nothing major." "Problem tenants?" "Late payments, noise complaints. One guy tried to sublet without authorization. We're handling it. I nodded. Must be frustrating. It is, but most people are fine. We've got a good screening process. I filed that information away. When I got home that evening, Jennifer was on the couch with her laptop. She glanced up when I walked in. "How was your day?" she asked. "Productive," I said. She smiled. "Good." I went to the kitchen and started making dinner. While the pasta boiled, I checked my phone. I'd set up a new email account under a generic name. I used it to send a message to the Westmont Holdings leasing office, asking about rental policies and lease termination procedures. They responded within 2 hours. I read the response carefully. Then I opened my spreadsheet and added a new row. The first action came on a Saturday. Jennifer was at a yoga class. She went every Saturday morning at 9, stayed until 10:30, then met friends for brunch. It was a standing routine, predictable. I stayed home and made a phone call. The recipient was our mortgage lender. I identified myself, verified my account details, and asked about refinancing options. The representative walked me through the process. I asked about removing a cosigner. "That would require the other party's consent," she explained. "Or you'd need to qualify for the loan independently." "I qualify independently," I said. "What's the process?" She outlined the steps. I thanked her and ended the call. Then I called our joint credit card company. I identified myself and requested a secondary card be deactivated. "May I ask why?" the representative asked. "It was misplaced," I said. "I'd like to issue a new one under my name only." "I'll need to verify some information." I provided it. The card was deactivated. I made 3 more calls. Each one was small. Each one was procedural. Each one removed a point of access Jennifer had assumed would always be there. When she came home from brunch, she was in a good mood. She talked about her friends, about a new restaurant they wanted to try. She didn't notice anything different. Monday morning, she tried to use the credit card at a coffee shop. It declined. She called me from the parking lot. "Hey, something's wrong with the card. It's not working." "Which card?" I asked. "The Visa." "Oh," I said. "I deactivated the secondary. I'm switching us to a better rewards program. I'll get you a new one." "When?" "This week." She paused. "Okay. Can you send me some cash in the meantime?" "Sure." I sent her $50. That afternoon, she tried to access our joint savings account online. The login credentials didn't work. She reset the password, but the account showed restricted access. She called me again. "What's going on with the savings account?" she asked. Her tone was sharper now. "I moved some funds around," I said, "trying to get a better interest rate. It's temporary." "You didn't tell me." "I didn't think it was urgent. Everything's fine." Another pause. Longer this time. "Okay," she said finally. That evening, she was quieter. She scrolled through her phone during dinner. She didn't ask about my day. I didn't ask about hers. The next morning, I received a text message from an unknown number. "Who is this?" it read. I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, another message. "This is Travis. We need to talk." I deleted both messages. That afternoon, Jennifer confronted me in the kitchen. "Did Travis try to contact you?" she asked. "Who's Travis?" I said. She stared at me. "Are you serious?" "I don't know anyone named Travis. He said he texted you." "I get spam texts all the time," I said. "I delete them." She watched me for a long moment. Then she turned and left the room. I went back to my laptop and opened my spreadsheet. I added a note in the margin. Pressure recognized. Adjusting. The following Saturday, I drove to the storage facility near Travis's office route. I rented a unit under my name, paid cash for 3 months. The manager didn't ask questions. I didn't store anything in it. I just wanted the receipt. That evening, Jennifer went out. She said she was meeting a friend. I knew she wasn't. I tracked her phone. We'd set up location sharing 2 years ago for safety reasons, and she'd never turned it off. She went to Travis's townhouse. I waited until she'd been there for an hour. Then I drove across town to the Westmont Holdings property management office. It was closed, but I left an envelope in the after-hours drop box. Inside was a printed copy of the lease agreement for Harper Terrace Unit 14, which I'd obtained through a public records request. Attached was a note. Tenant may be subletting without authorization. Observed multiple vehicles at odd hours. Thought you should know. I didn't sign it. I went home and waited. Jennifer came back at 11. She was smiling. "Good night?" I asked. "Yeah," she said. "Just what I needed." I nodded and went back to reading. 3 days later, I received an email from Westmont Holdings. It was addressed to the generic account I'd created. The subject line read, "Thank you for your concern." The body of the email explained that they'd followed up on the report and were reviewing the tenant's lease compliance. I deleted the email. Then I opened my spreadsheet and moved to the next phase. I didn't plan to confront Travis directly, but sometimes opportunities present themselves in ways you don't anticipate. It happened on a Thursday. I'd been tracking his routines for 2 weeks. He went to the gym every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 6 in the morning. He parked in the same spot in the far corner of the lot where there were fewer cars. He stayed for an hour, then stopped at a smoothie place on his way to the office. The pattern was so predictable it almost felt like he wanted to be followed. Or maybe he just thought he was invisible. People like Travis, people who lived in the thin surface layer of success without understanding the systems underneath, always thought they were invisible. I arrived at the gym at 5:50. The parking lot was mostly empty. A few early risers scattered across the asphalt, walking toward the entrance with coffee cups and gym bags. The air smelled like rain, though the sky was clear. The kind of morning where everything felt temporary. His BMW was already there. Same spot. Far corner, under a tree that dropped leaves on the hood. I parked 3 spaces away and waited. Through my windshield, I watched the entrance. People came and went. A woman in yoga pants, a man with headphones, a teenager who looked too young to be awake at this hour. None of them were Travis. I checked my watch. 6:15, 6:30, 6:45. At 6:50, he emerged. He was wearing athletic clothes that looked expensive but weren't quite right. The kind of outfit someone wears when they want to look like they work out more than they actually do. He carried a duffel bag over one shoulder and scrolled through his phone with his free hand. He walked toward his car without looking up, completely absorbed in whatever was on his screen. I got out of my vehicle. The sound of my door closing made him glance up, but only briefly. He didn't recognize me. Why would he? I was just another guy in a parking lot. Nobody important. I walked toward him at an angle that would intersect his path naturally. Not aggressive, not suspicious, just someone heading to their car. "Travis," I said. He stopped, looked up from his phone, took a moment to process. His eyes narrowed slightly, trying to place me. "Do I know you?" he asked. "We haven't met," I said. "I'm Jennifer's husband." His expression shifted. Not fear, not guilt, just irritation. The kind of look you give someone who's interrupting your day with something inconvenient. "What do you want?" he asked. His tone was clipped, impatient. "To talk." He glanced around the parking lot. There were a few other people walking to their cars, but no one close enough to hear us. The gym's entrance was 50 feet away. The nearest vehicle with someone in it was even farther. "Look," he said, turning back to me. "I don't know what Jennifer told you, but this isn't really my problem." "Isn't it?" "No. You two have whatever issues you have. That's between you." I stepped closer. Not threatening, just closer. Close enough that he had to acknowledge my presence instead of dismissing it. "Here's the thing," I said. "I don't care about you and Jennifer. I really don't. But you made a mistake." "What mistake?" "You underestimated me." He laughed. It was a short, sharp sound, contemptuous. "Is this supposed to scare me?" "No," I said. This is supposed to inform you. I reached into my jacket, slowly, deliberately, and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I handed it to him. He took it, still holding his phone in his other hand. He unfolded the paper with one hand, awkward and impatient. Then he looked down at it. It was a printout of his company's property listing for Harper Terrace. His name was listed as the leasing agent. Below that, I'd highlighted a section of the lease agreement he'd signed. The clause about unauthorized occupancy. I'd used a yellow marker. Very neat, very clear. "What is this?" he asked. His voice had changed. The irritation was still there, but underneath it was something else. Uncertainty. "Your landlord received a complaint," I said, "about potential lease violations. They're investigating." His face went pale. The color drained so fast it was almost funny. Almost. "You reported me?" he said. "I didn't say that." "You—" He stopped. His jaw worked. He looked down at the paper again, then back at me. "You can't do this." "I didn't do anything," I said calmly. "I'm just a guy who pays attention." I turned to walk away. "Wait," he said. I stopped. Didn't turn around immediately. Just waited. "What do you want?" he asked. I turned back. He was standing there with the paper in one hand and his phone in the other, looking smaller than he had a minute ago, looking like someone who'd just realized he wasn't in control of the situation. "I want you to understand something," I said. "You're not clever. You're not untouchable. You're just someone who got comfortable because no one was paying attention. But I'm paying attention now." His mouth opened, closed. He didn't have a response. I walked back to my car. He stood there, holding the paper, looking like he'd just been told his credit score dropped 300 points. I got in, started the engine, and drove away. In my rearview mirror, I saw him still standing there staring at the paper. I drove to work and had a normal day. Coordinated 3 shipments. Resolved a billing dispute. Answered emails. At lunch, I ate a sandwich at my desk and read the news. Nothing unusual. Nothing different. But when I checked my phone at 2 in the afternoon, I had a missed call from an unknown number. No voicemail. I didn't call back. That evening, Jennifer was agitated. She paced the living room, checked her phone constantly, barely touched her dinner. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Fine," she said. "You seem stressed." "Work stuff." I nodded and went back to my food. Later that night, I heard her on the phone in the bedroom. Her voice was low, but I caught fragments. "He knows something. I don't know how. No, he didn't say anything. Travis, calm down." I went to my office and opened my laptop. I drafted an email to Leonard Pike. I asked if we could meet again. I had a few more questions about property management, I said, specifically about tenant disputes. He responded within an hour. "Sure," he wrote. "How's Monday?" I confirmed. Over the weekend, Jennifer was distant. She spent most of Saturday out of the house. Sunday, she stayed in the bedroom with the door closed. I didn't ask questions. On Monday, I met Leonard at the same cafe. "How's the investment research going?" he asked. "Interesting," I said. "I've been looking into tenant behavior patterns. What happens when someone violates a lease?" "Depends on the violation," he said. "Minor stuff, we issue warnings. Major stuff, we start eviction proceedings." "What counts as major?" "Unauthorized occupants, subletting without permission, property damage, consistent late payments." "How do you verify unauthorized occupants?" "Complaints, mostly. Or if we do a routine inspection and find people living there who aren't on the lease." I nodded. "What happens if someone reports a violation but you can't prove it?" "We investigate. If we can't confirm it, we drop it. But if we find anything suspicious, we'll keep watching." "Makes sense." Leonard sipped his coffee. "Why the specific interest in tenant violations?" "Just curious," I said. "I've been thinking about what makes a good property manager. Seems like attention to detail matters." "It does," he agreed. We talked for another 20 minutes. Then I thanked him and left. That afternoon, I received a text from Jennifer. "We need to talk when you get home." I didn't respond. When I arrived home, she was sitting at the kitchen table. Her laptop was open in front of her. "Sit down," she said. I sat. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I'm not sure what you mean." "You know exactly what I mean. The credit cards, the savings account, whatever you did with Travis." "I moved some money around," I said, "and I had a conversation with someone. That's all." "A conversation?" "Yes." She leaned forward. "You can't do this." "Do what?" "Sabotage my life." I looked at her. "Your life?" "Yes." "Your life," I repeated, "includes a marriage you've been actively dismantling for over a year. Your life includes a man who thinks he's untouchable because he works in real estate and drives a leased car. Your life includes assumptions that I would just sit quietly while you decided when and how to leave." She stared at me. "I heard you," I said. "3 weeks ago, you and Amanda in the kitchen. I heard everything." Her face went white. "You said I was too passive to notice," I continued. "You said I didn't fight for anything. You were wrong." "So what?" she said. Her voice was shaking now. "You're going to ruin everything because your feelings got hurt?" "No," I said. "I'm going to ruin everything because you assumed I wouldn't." I stood up and walked out of the room. Behind me, I heard her start to cry. I went to my office and closed the door. The unexpected variable appeared on a Wednesday. I was at work, coordinating a shipment reroute through Indianapolis, when my phone rang. The caller ID showed a local number I didn't recognize. "This is David Graves," I said. "Mr. Graves, this is Amanda Porter. We met a few weeks ago at your house." I paused. Jennifer's friend. The one who'd been there during the conversation I'd overheard. The one who'd listened to Jennifer talk about me like I was already erased from her life. "I remember," I said. "I need to talk to you," she said. "In person. It's about Jennifer." "I'm at work." "I know. Can we meet after? It's important." I considered. Amanda calling me directly was unexpected. People don't usually cross those kinds of social lines unless something significant has shifted. Either she was setting me up, or something had changed her perspective. "Where?" I asked. "There's a coffee shop on Belmont Street, near the post office." "I know it. What time?" 6? "I'll be there." She ended the call. I finished the reroute, sent the confirmations, and spent the rest of the afternoon trying to predict what Amanda wanted. She was Jennifer's friend, loyal, presumably. But she'd called me. That suggested something had shifted, a crack in the alliance, a moment of conscience, or possibly a trap. I considered not going, but information was always valuable, even if it came from an unreliable source. I arrived at the coffee shop at 5:50. The place was small, dimly lit, decorated with mismatched furniture that was supposed to look artistic but mostly looked cluttered. A handful of people sat at scattered tables, bent over laptops or phones. Amanda was already there, sitting at a corner table with a cup of tea. She looked nervous. Her hands were wrapped around the cup like she was trying to warm them, even though the shop was overheated. I ordered coffee, black, no sugar, and sat down across from her. "Thank you for meeting me," she said. Her voice was quiet, uncertain. "What's this about?" She hesitated, glanced around the coffee shop like she was checking for someone who might be listening. Then she looked back at me. "I need to tell you something, but I need you to understand that I'm not doing this to hurt Jennifer. I'm doing this because I think you should know the truth." "Go on." She took a breath. "Jennifer called me last night. She was upset. She told me about what's been happening, the accounts, the credit cards, the thing with Travis." I didn't respond. I just watched her. "She thinks you're trying to destroy her," Amanda continued. "She's scared, but she's also planning something." "Planning what?" Amanda looked down at her tea. The silence stretched for a few seconds. Then she said, "She wants to take everything she can and leave. She's been talking to a lawyer. She's going to claim that you've been controlling and financially manipulative. She wants to make it look like you're the bad guy." I nodded slowly. "And you're telling me this because?" "Because I don't think it's fair," she said. She looked up, met my eyes. "I was there when she talked about you. I heard what she said, and I've felt terrible about it ever since." "You didn't say anything then." "I know." Her voice cracked slightly. "I should have, but I didn't know what to say, and I didn't think it was my place. She's my friend. Or she was. I don't know anymore." "What changed?" She took another breath. "She's using me. She asked me to be a witness, to say that I've seen you be controlling, that I've heard you threaten her. She wants me to lie. And you don't want to." "No, I don't." She looked down again. "I'm not a bad person. I made a mistake by not speaking up sooner, but I'm not going to lie for her. Not about this." I sipped my coffee. It was bitter, overbrewed. "What does she know about your meeting me?" "Nothing. She doesn't even know I have your number. I got it from her phone last week when she wasn't looking." "Why?" "Because I had a feeling this might happen, that she'd try to pull something, and I wanted to be able to reach you if I needed to." I studied her. She seemed genuine. Her body language was open, apologetic. Her eyes didn't shift away when I looked at her. But I'd learned not to trust appearances. People lied for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes they even believed their own lies. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "Nothing," she said quickly. "I just thought you should know what's coming, so you can prepare." "Appreciated." She stood up, fumbling with her purse. "I'm sorry for all of this. I should have said something sooner. When I heard her talking about you that day, I should have told her it was wrong." "Yes," I said. "You should have." She flinched slightly at that. Then she nodded and left. I sat there for a while, thinking. The coffee shop's speakers played something acoustic and forgettable. A couple at the next table argued quietly about weekend plans. Outside, the sky was darkening, streetlights beginning to flicker on. Jennifer was escalating. That wasn't surprising, but the fact that Amanda had broken ranks was. It suggested fractures I hadn't anticipated. Vulnerabilities I could use. I finished my coffee and drove home. Jennifer wasn't there. I checked her location on my phone, the shared tracking we'd set up years ago for safety, the feature she'd never bothered to turn off. She was at a restaurant downtown, with Travis, presumably. I went to my office and updated my spreadsheet. I added Amanda's information to the variables column. Then I opened a new document and started drafting a timeline. If Jennifer was going to claim financial manipulation, I needed to counter it with documentation. Every transaction I'd made was legitimate. Every account I'd adjusted was in my name or required my consent. I hadn't stolen anything. I'd simply stopped enabling her access to things that were mine to control. I compiled bank statements, account records, payment histories. I organized them by date. I highlighted the deposits I'd made, the bills I'd paid, the debts I'd covered while she spent money on conference trips and boutique shopping. Then I printed everything and put it in a folder. The next morning, I called Patricia Hodges. "I'm ready to proceed," I said. "With the divorce?" "Yes. But I need to move quickly." There was a pause. "How quickly?" "This week." "What changed?" "I have reason to believe my wife is planning to file first, with false claims." "I see. Can you come in this afternoon?" "Yes." I met with Patricia at 3. I showed her the documentation I'd compiled. I explained Amanda's warning. I outlined Jennifer's likely strategy. Patricia reviewed everything carefully. "This is solid," she said. "If she tries to claim financial manipulation, you have clear evidence to the contrary. But I need to ask, Have you done anything that could be construed as threatening or controlling? I've restricted access to accounts that were mine to control, I said. I've made financial decisions without consulting her, but I haven't threatened her, and I haven't prevented her from accessing her own resources. Good. Let's file immediately. We'll request an expedited hearing based on her likely claims. The faster we move, the less time she has to build a false narrative. Do it. Patricia drafted the papers. I reviewed them, signed them, and authorized filing. By Friday afternoon, Jennifer had been served. I was at work when she called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. What the hell did you do? Her voice was shaking. You filed? You actually filed? I deleted the message. That evening, she was waiting for me when I got home. She was standing in the driveway, arms crossed, face red. We need to talk, she said. We can talk through lawyers, I said. No, now. I walked past her toward the front door. She grabbed my arm. I stopped, looked at her hand, looked at her face. Let go, I said quietly. She hesitated, then released me. You're making a mistake, she said. No, I said. I'm correcting one. I went inside and locked the door. The hearing was scheduled for the following Thursday. Patricia warned me that Jennifer's lawyer would likely request a delay, but the judge had a reputation for moving quickly on contested cases. In the meantime, things accelerated. On Saturday, I received a call from Leonard Pike. Hey, he said, remember that tenant issue I mentioned? The one at Harper Terrace? Yeah. We confirmed the violation. Found evidence of unauthorized occupancy. We're starting eviction proceedings. I paused. That was fast. We don't mess around with lease violations. The tenant tried to argue that it was just a guest situation, but we have documentation showing multiple overnight stays over several weeks. Plus, there were complaints from neighbors about noise and parking. What happens now? He has 30 days to vacate. If he doesn't, we escalate. Got it. Why do you ask? Just curious. You mentioned it before, so I figured I'd follow up. Fair enough. Thanks for the initial tip, by the way. Saved us a lot of trouble down the line. I didn't correct him. When I ended the call, I added a note to my spreadsheet. Kellerman eviction in progress. That afternoon, Travis called me. I answered. You did this, he said immediately. His voice was tight, controlled, barely holding together. You reported me. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. I know it was you. You're being evicted because you violated your lease, I said. That has nothing to do with me. You planned this, the parking lot conversation, the report, all of it. I told you I was paying attention, I said calmly. You should have listened. He was silent for a moment. I could hear him breathing on the other end. Then, you're going to regret this. Am I? Yeah, you are. He ended the call. I didn't feel threatened. Travis wasn't the type to do anything reckless. He was a real estate agent who drove a leased car and rented his own company's property. He didn't have the stomach for confrontation beyond angry phone calls. But Jennifer was different. That night, she showed up at the house with Travis. They parked in the driveway and came to the front door together. I watched through the window as they approached. Jennifer walked with purpose, her jaw set. Travis followed a step behind, looking uncomfortable. I didn't answer the door. Jennifer rang the bell, knocked, rang again. David! She shouted. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the quiet evening. I know you're in there. Open the door. I stayed in the living room, lights off, watching them through the curtain. The porch light illuminated them perfectly. Jennifer's face was flushed. Travis kept glancing at the neighbors' houses. Travis said something to her. She shook her head, knocked again, harder this time. We're not leaving until you talk to us, she yelled. I pulled out my phone and started recording video, just in case. The angle was good. I could see both of them clearly, see the timestamp, see that I was inside my own home while they were on my property uninvited. They stayed on the porch for 10 minutes. Jennifer kept knocking. Travis paced. Eventually, a neighbor, Mrs. Patterson from 2 houses down, turned on her porch light and looked outside. She stood there for a moment, watching them. Jennifer noticed. She grabbed Travis's arm and pulled him back toward the car. They left. I saved the video and sent it to Patricia with a brief explanation. Ex-wife and her boyfriend attempting to force contact after I declined. She responded immediately. Noted. This supports the harassment angle if needed. On Monday, Jennifer's lawyer filed a motion claiming I'd been uncooperative and requesting a delay. Patricia countered with documentation showing that Jennifer had initiated unwanted contact. The judge denied the delay. The hearing was still set for Thursday. On Tuesday, I went to the gym. Same routine as always. But when I came out, I noticed something wrong with my car. The front tire was flat. I walked around the vehicle slowly, examining it. There was a clean puncture on the sidewall. Not a nail, not road debris. Deliberate. Someone had used something sharp, a knife, maybe, or an awl, and punctured it precisely. I looked around the parking lot. No cameras in this section. No witnesses. Just rows of empty cars and morning sunlight reflecting off windshields. I called a tow service and had the car taken to a repair shop. While I waited, I called Patricia and told her what happened. "Do you think it was Jennifer?" she asked. "Or Travis? Or both?" "Can you prove it?" "No." "Then we document it and move on. Don't engage, don't retaliate. Let them make mistakes." I picked up a rental car and went to work. That evening, I received a text from an unknown number. "You think you're smart, you're not." I didn't respond. Another text. "Thursday's going to be fun." I blocked the number. On Wednesday, I spent the day preparing for the hearing. Patricia walked me through what to expect, what questions I'd be asked, how to respond calmly and factually. "The key," she said, "is to let the evidence speak for itself. Don't get emotional. Don't argue. Just present the facts." I can do that. Good, because Jennifer's strategy is going to be emotional. She'll try to paint you as controlling, vindictive, unstable. We need to show that you're none of those things. Understood. That night, I barely slept. Not because I was nervous, because I was ready. Because everything I'd planned, everything I'd documented, everything I'd carefully constructed over the past weeks was about to be tested. And I knew it would hold. Thursday morning arrived. The hearing was at 10. I arrived at 9:30, wearing a suit, carrying a folder with all my documentation organized by date and category. Financial records on the left, communication logs in the middle, evidence of Jennifer's harassment on the right. The courthouse was busy. People moved through the hallways, lawyers in expensive suits, families looking lost, court staff carrying files. The air smelled like old carpet and coffee. Jennifer arrived at 9:45. She was wearing a black dress, heels, makeup that made her look tired and stressed. Strategic. Travis was with her. So was her lawyer, a man named Gordon Fields, who had a reputation for aggressive tactics and theatrical courtroom performances. Patricia met me in the hallway. "Ready?" she asked. "Yes." We went into the courtroom. The space was smaller than I'd expected. Wood paneling on the walls, fluorescent lights overhead, rows of benches for observers, a raised platform for the judge. The judge was a woman named Marilyn Foster. She was in her 60s with short gray hair and a no-nonsense expression. She reviewed the case files briefly, making notes before looking up at both sides. "This is a preliminary hearing to address temporary orders," she said. Her voice was clear, authoritative. "I've reviewed the filings from both parties. Let's start with financial access. Mr. Fields, your client claims that Mr. Graves has restricted her access to marital assets. What's the basis for that claim?" Fields stood. He was tall, well-dressed, with the kind of confidence that came from winning cases through volume rather than substance. "Your Honor, Mrs. Graves has been systematically cut off from joint accounts, credit cards, and financial resources without notice or consent. This has left her unable to pay for basic necessities and has caused significant emotional distress. Judge Foster looked at Patricia. Response. Patricia stood. Your Honor, Mr. Graves has not restricted access to marital assets. He has restricted access to his personal accounts, which he has every legal right to do. Mrs. Graves has her own income, her own bank account, and her own credit cards. She is not without resources. Do you have documentation? The judge asked. Patricia handed her a folder. Account statements showing that Mrs. Graves has maintained independent access to funds throughout the marriage. Additionally, records showing that Mr. Graves has been the primary financial contributor to joint expenses. Judge Foster reviewed the documents. Her expression didn't change. She flipped through pages methodically, checking dates, amounts, account names. Mrs. Graves, she said, looking up, is it true that you have your own bank account and income? Jennifer stood. Yes, but... And have you been unable to access that account? No, but he changed the joint account. The joint account that Mr. Graves primarily funded? Jennifer hesitated. Yes. Judge Foster looked at Fields. I'm not seeing evidence of financial control here. What else? Fields shifted his weight. Mrs. Graves also claims that Mr. Graves has engaged in harassing behavior, including showing up at her workplace and making threatening statements. I have never been to her workplace, I said calmly. Judge Foster looked at me. Mr. Graves, let your attorney speak. Patricia stood again. Your Honor, that claim is false. Mr. Graves has not contacted Mrs. Graves except through appropriate legal channels. In fact, we have video evidence of Mrs. Graves attempting to force contact with Mr. Graves at his residence after he declined to engage. She handed the judge a USB drive. This was taken Monday night. Judge Foster inserted the drive into her computer and watched the video. The courtroom was silent. I could hear the faint sound of my recording playing through her speakers. Jennifer's voice shouting, Travis's uncomfortable presence, the timestamp marking the date and time. When it finished, Judge Foster removed the drive and set it aside. Mrs. Graves, she said, is this you in the video? Jennifer looked at Fields. He whispered something to her. She nodded reluctantly. Yes, she said quietly. And you went to Mr. Graves's residence uninvited? I just wanted to talk. Did he invite you? No. Judge Foster set the USB drive aside. Anything else, Mr. Fields? Fields looked uncomfortable. His confident posture had deflated slightly. We believe there may be additional evidence of controlling behavior that we haven't been able to fully document yet. Then document it and file an amended motion, Judge Foster said. Based on what I'm seeing here, I'm denying the request for emergency financial relief. Mrs. Graves has independent resources. Mr. Graves has not violated any laws. As for temporary orders, I'm issuing a mutual no-contact directive. Both parties are to communicate only through their attorneys until the divorce is finalized. She signed the order and handed copies to both sides. We'll reconvene in 30 days for the next phase. Court is adjourned. I stood. Jennifer was staring at me across the courtroom. Her face was pale. Travis had his arm around her shoulders. Patricia touched my elbow. Let's go. We walked out. In the hallway, Fields tried to intercept us. This isn't over, he said. Patricia didn't slow down. It is for today. We left the building. Outside, Patricia turned to me. You did well, she said. Judge Foster saw through the theatrics. Now we just need to stay the course. What's next? We wait for them to make their next move, and we keep documenting everything. I nodded. That evening, I went home and opened my spreadsheet for the last time. I added a single line at the bottom. Outcome, favorable, next phase, finalization. Then I closed the laptop and poured myself a drink. The 30 days between hearings were quiet on the surface. No calls, no texts, no surprise visits. The no-contact order held. But beneath that quiet, I knew Jennifer and Travis were planning something. People who've been backed into corners don't just surrender. They look for openings. I didn't give them any. I kept working, kept my routines, stayed predictable, but I also kept watching. Through a combination of public records, social media monitoring, and simple observation, I tracked their movements. Travis had moved out of the Harper Terrace townhouse and into a cheaper apartment on the north side of town. His company had quietly removed his name from their website's agent directory. His BMW was gone, replaced by a 10-year-old sedan. Jennifer had moved in with him. I learned this from Amanda, who called me 2 weeks after the hearing. "I thought you should know," she said. "She's staying at his place. She lost the lease on her own apartment because she couldn't make rent." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because she's desperate, and desperate people do stupid things." "I'm aware. Just be careful." I thanked her and ended the call. The final hearing was scheduled for a Thursday in late spring. Patricia had prepared thoroughly. We had financial documentation, communication records, witness statements from Amanda, and evidence of Jennifer's attempts at harassment. The morning of the hearing, I woke up early, showered, put on the same suit I'd worn last time, organized my folder. I arrived at the courthouse at 9. Patricia was waiting. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Ready." We went inside. Jennifer and Travis were already there. Fields was with them, looking more prepared this time. He had a larger folder, more documents. Judge Foster entered at 9:30. We all stood. "Let's proceed," she said. "Mr. Fields, I've reviewed your supplemental filings. You're claiming that Mr. Graves engaged in a coordinated effort to sabotage your client's relationship and financial stability. Walk me through that." Fields stood. "Your Honor, we have evidence that Mr. Graves deliberately contacted his wife's partner's landlord to report false lease violations, resulting in eviction. We also have evidence that he manipulated financial accounts with the intent to cause hardship. These actions constitute harassment and bad faith conduct during separation." Judge Foster looked at Patricia. "Response?" Patricia stood. "Your Honor, Mr. Graves made legitimate reports based on observed facts. The eviction resulted from actual lease violations, not false accusations. As for financial accounts, Mr. Graves simply exercised his legal right to manage his own assets. There is no harassment here." "Mr. Graves," Judge Foster said, looking at me, "did you report lease violations to Westmont Holdings regarding Mr. Kellerman's residence?" I stood. "I submitted a report based on observations I made. I didn't fabricate anything." "What observations?" "I noticed irregular activity at the property, multiple vehicles at unusual hours. I reported it anonymously. The property management company investigated and found actual violations." "Anonymously?" "Yes." "Why anonymously?" "Because I didn't want to be involved beyond providing information." Judge Foster made a note. "And the financial accounts?" "I restricted access to my personal accounts because I was preparing for separation. I didn't prevent Mrs. Graves from accessing her own funds." "Did you inform her before making these changes?" "No." "Why not?" I paused. "Because she'd already made decisions about our marriage without informing me. I was simply doing the same." Jennifer stood up. "That's not—" "Mrs. Graves, sit down," Judge Foster said. "You'll have your turn." Jennifer sat. Judge Foster reviewed her notes. "Mr. Fields, I'm still not seeing harassment. I'm seeing a man who discovered infidelity and responded by protecting his assets. That's not illegal." "Your Honor, the intent is difficult to prove when the actions themselves are legally sound," Judge Foster interrupted. "Do you have anything else?" Fields hesitated. "We'd like to call Mrs. Graves to testify about the emotional impact." "I've read her statement," Judge Foster said. Unless you have new evidence, I'm ready to issue a ruling. Fields sat down. Judge Foster looked at both sides. Here's what I'm seeing. This is a marriage that ended due to infidelity. Mr. Graves responded by legally protecting his financial interests and removing himself from the situation. Mrs. Graves responded by attempting to paint herself as a victim while continuing a relationship with another man. Both parties made choices. Those choices have consequences. She signed a document. I'm granting the divorce. Assets will be divided according to contribution. The house, which Mr. Graves primarily financed, will remain his property. Mrs. Graves will have 30 days to remove her belongings. Joint accounts will be split proportionally based on documented contributions. No alimony. No ongoing financial obligations beyond what's explicitly outlined in the settlement. She handed the document to the clerk. We're done here. Jennifer's face went white. Fields whispered something to her. She shook her head. I stood. Patricia gathered our materials. As we walked toward the exit, Travis stepped in front of me. This isn't over, he said quietly. I looked at him. Yes, it is. You destroyed my career, my reputation, my home. No, I said. You did that. I just stopped ignoring it. He stepped closer. You think you won? I think you lost, I said. There's a difference. Patricia touched my arm. Let's go. We walked past him. In the hallway, Fields tried one more time. We're going to appeal. Good luck, Patricia said without stopping. We left the building. Outside, the sun was bright. Traffic moved steadily along the street. People walked past, going about their lives, completely unaware of what had just happened inside. Patricia turned to me. You okay? Yeah. That was clean. Decisive. No loose ends. Good. What are you going to do now? I thought about it. Move on. She smiled. You earned it. We shook hands. She walked to her car. I stood there for a moment, watching the city move around me. Then I got in my rental car and drove home. When I arrived, the house was quiet. Empty. Mine. I went to my office and opened my laptop. I looked at the spreadsheet one last time. All the entries, all the planning, all the variables that had finally resolved. Then I deleted the file. I didn't need it anymore. I walked to the kitchen and poured coffee. Stood at the window looking out at the backyard. The grass needed mowing. The fence needed repair. Normal things. Fixable things. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You're going to regret this. I deleted it without responding. Then I blocked the number and finished my coffee. The doorbell rang. I walked to the front door and looked through the peephole. It was Travis. He was standing on the porch, hands in his pockets, looking at the ground. I opened the door. What do you want? I asked. He looked up. His eyes were red. I need to understand. Understand what? Why you did this, why you went after me. I wasn't the problem. She was the one who... You were both the problem, I said. She made choices. You enabled them. You both thought I wouldn't notice. You were wrong. I lost everything, he said. His voice cracked. My job, my place, You lost things you never actually had, I said. You rented a townhouse from your own company and called it success. You drove a leased car and called it wealth. You took someone else's wife and called it a relationship. None of it was real. He stared at me. I didn't destroy you, I said. I just stopped pretending you were something you weren't. He took a step back. You could what? I asked. Go to the police? Tell them I reported a lease violation? Tell them I managed my own bank accounts? Tell them I legally divorced my wife? He didn't answer. You have nothing, I said. No leverage, no power, no options. You're just a guy who made bad decisions and ran out of places to hide. I stepped back and started to close the door. Wait, he said. I stopped. What am I supposed to do now? He asked. I looked at him, at his rumpled clothes, his tired face, his complete lack of understanding about how any of this worked. Figure it out, I said. I closed the door and locked it. Through the window, I watched him stand on the porch for another minute. Then he walked back to his old sedan and drove away. I went back to the kitchen, poured another cup of coffee, sat at the table. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Jennifer. Can we talk? I deleted the message. Another text. Please. I blocked her number. The house was silent. I sat there drinking coffee, thinking about nothing in particular. The divorce was final. The assets were settled. The people who'd underestimated me had learned otherwise. There was nothing left to plan, nothing left to anticipate, just quiet. I finished my coffee, rinsed the cup, and went outside to mow the lawn. The grass was thick and green. The mower started on the first pull. I worked in straight lines, covering the yard systematically, the same way I approached everything else. When I finished, I put the mower away and went back inside. The phone didn't ring. The doorbell didn't chime. No one came to interrupt the silence. I sat in the living room and opened a book I'd been meaning to read for months. The pages turned easily. The story was good. I kept reading. Outside, the sun moved across the sky. Afternoon became evening. The light changed from bright to soft